Hello, it's 12 o'clock here on a Friday, the 11th of September, and it's 10 o'clock. 10, beg your pardon, time zone over there in the States has just got to me. Of course, it's the 10th of September, and it's 8 o'clock in Colorado. And Julia is our associate here, and she's just been caught up in the traffic, but she'll be slipping into the studio shortly. But she's unearthed this amazing woman, Abiggail, and I've got her live currently through our Facebook sites. And so for our friends in United Kingdom, I apologize. I know it's 3 o'clock in the morning for you, but you can watch the show live later on and replay. And for our folks in the New Zealand, I beg your pardon, who watch us, it's currently 1 minute past 2 in the afternoon on a Friday afternoon. Anyway, after all that, it's my pleasure to welcome Abiggail. Thank you for coming on. And it's been what I've heard from Julia's been amazing. So we've got a story to share today. Yeah.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. Thank you. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Right. So I noticed that you're actually born in Ghana and then you've moved across to America. So the land of the hope and the free and the brave. And there you are. You've set up shop and you got yourself married and you know, Colorado Mountains and Independence Pass and home of Aspen and Glenford Springs. I mean, it's a really amazing part of the world, isn't it?
It is beautiful here. I absolutely love it. I love the fact that it's not hot and humid. It's nice and cool, and there's always the mountains you can escape into, and the greenery, and then the fall weather with all the color changes of the leaves. I mean, it's such a beautiful place to be. Yeah, I'm fortunate.
Actually, you are fortunate. Fantastic. Let's bring on board what Julia got here today. So we've got a couple of things we want to talk about. The Moon Goddess Academy, the Mystery School initiations, but I think the DNA activation, I think that was really something that, well, I certainly am interested in that. So, take this conversation. You're in the driving seat.
Totally. So it is very interesting how many people have been really drawn to the DNA activation since I introduced it in the book Awakening, Meet the Women, Birth and the New Earth. And nobody, usually what I hear from is that nobody has ever heard it explained that way. I mean, most people have heard about DNA activations or activations. So, whether it's goddess activations or business activations, there's always some kind of activations going on there. But the DNA activation was, the one that I described, it caught a lot of people off guard because they weren't used to that, or at least it wasn't explained to them that way. And so it was so, I remember when I got the opportunity to be part of this book, I was like, what should I write about? And my higher selves were like, DNA activation. I was like, no, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm ready to, or I don't know if humanity is ready for this. My higher self was like, yes, it's time. You need to share this. And I was like, I don't know. Why let me write about higher self instead. And it was like, no. So I just went for it. I took that leap of faith and I dove in there and talked about our divine genome. We've known our physical genome and really breaking down what that is. So there's no longer like this woo-woo aspect that is like hanging around here in the etheric realm, but actually bringing it into the physical body, into this physical reality and what that means. And that's what people really felt when they read my chapter about DNA activations.
Nice. Yeah, Julia.
Absolutely. Hi, Abiggail. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Julia.
Hey, good to be on the show with you. So I haven't I've walked in on this whole thing. So, Abiggail, when did you activate your own DNA codes and what difference did you feel?
So my journey actually began in the mystery school, and this would have been, let's see, about 8-9 years ago. that I started that journey when I was actually in the mystery school. And it's actually a prerequisite as an initiate to get activated. And so we went through weekly activations. And because what we were learning in the mystery school was higher teachings, was the occult studies. So Kabbalah, ritual mastery, high priestess path, shamanic practices. Like we were learning the higher studies, and you need to be, what word should I put it? Elevated. You need to be high frequency. You need to be in that zone to be able to comprehend it, remove your ego, remove your blocks so that you can fully embody the teachings, because higher teachings are not just words that you're learning. It's not another thing that you're reading to comprehend it. You're actually receiving light frequencies too, and upgrading yourself, upgrading your mind. And so we had to get activated every single week, so that we can fully embody and absorb what we were learning. The other part of the activation is that we, part of the initiation was to become a healer and teacher, and it was part of the study. So we learned how to do DNA activations, and we practice it on each other. And so that even boosted that, so that we can continue activating others and also activating ourselves. I think it's so much easier to activate others, than doing it yourself, on yourself, I should say. But yeah, it just, the first time I received it, I had no idea what to expect. I was still new in the mystery school. I was just new on the path work. And the first time I got it, I remember my teacher was like smiling, she could not wait to see what would come through and who my teachers would be. And oh man, so she, got everything set up, and then she started activating my DNA. And in that moment, I felt so peaceful just with her and then hearing her. And the cool part is that everything that she saw, so like the teachers that came in, my masters of light teachers that came in, the archangels that came in, the messages that came through, the colors that she would see, I would see all of those before she would even say something. So it's like confirmation, like right there, and it just felt so good. I felt confident in my gifts. And there was like this sense of clarity, right, in that moment. And then afterwards, when I left and took it home with me, it felt, this is how I explain it, felt like someone opened your eyes like wide, just wide open, and there's no, you can't close it, you can't make it small anymore. And the world literally felt bright. It felt like someone turned on the light. And the clarity, like the clarity in terms of the beauty that surrounded me, the beauty and the joy and the light that was around me, all amplified. And that was just the first one. The more I got it, the more clear I got, the more amazing things happened, the more I could, like in terms of my life transforming, the more of that came through. And so, yeah, it was, but the first time, that's the experience that got, and every single person that gets it gets a different experience. So that's not like everybody will feel that way. Everybody will see it that way. No, there's some people that get it the first time and they go home and they're like, yeah, I don't want to smoke anymore. We're done. I'm not smoking anymore, and that is their, they get that immediate effect. And there's others that, and that's why the spacing is like a week spacing, so that you can fully integrate it, right? So you have a whole 7 days to just allow the light to be absorbed into every cell in your body, so it might not happen immediately. It might be like, day 7, and all of a sudden you're like, I feel good today. Usually I wake up and I'm very pissed off and I don't want to be awake, but today I'm excited,
Oh, I'm
Excuse
still
me,
here.
there is a male in the room here.
Especially when there's a male in the room, it's like, is that my
Yeah, so it just, everybody experiences something different, but the key here is that you will notice a difference. You just open yourselves up to receive so much light. There, you will notice a difference in your life, in your relationships, in your physical body, especially. It's incredible. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the first time from what you describe, it's as if like filters got taken off. Where do you think those filters came from?
Life. Life, from birth to wherever we are right now, culture, family. It begins in family, the expectations. You should be this way, you should act that way, you should do this way. It's very interesting now that I'm a mother and watching my son grow. It's like, oh my gosh, he came with, fully knowing who he is. And all I have to do is just nurture that and hold space for him to just continue to show me who he really is. And I can't help but ask, like, if I had that support growing up, who would I become right now? If I didn't have those programmings and those limitations, the mindset stuff that holds us back, if I didn't have all of those, who would I become right now? I would have probably been further along than I am right now, like knowing who I am, what I'm here to do, and just fully immersed in it, which that whole has been a process to get here, right? But also all those experiences is also what made me who I am right now. More seasoned, I should say, more, I have more substance in my energy field, and I've learned so much more. And because of that, I can also help so much more with my experiences.
Yeah, I guess we sort of pick at the conditions in which we get born and our parents, and we might pick them to be challenging to us, or we might pick them up to be supportive to us. So I'm actually quite interested because, obviously we're living in Australia, and I was born in Germany and I grew up in Hong Kong. So I know the environment is, as you say, it's very formative and shape in terms of identity, because certainly in Hong Kong, everyone's got black hair and brown eyes. And the first time I went to Germany, I thought I was normal. And then all these girls started coming to us and wanted to get to know us because we were so different. Okay. And you grew up in Africa, so I'm actually, but I don't know whether it was that city or rural, sort of how, in terms of forming your identity, sort of what kind of structures did you grow up within, with your mothers and aunties versus the men?
Yeah, so it's actually very different from the US structures, that's for sure. There's a lot of community, like everybody will, even up to now, my husband is so confused because I'll say, oh, my auntie. And so now he's like, is that your real auntie or auntie out of respect? Everybody's auntie, everything is mom, everyone is mom, everyone is uncle. There's a sense of community, and everybody is helping everyone out. Even the way the houses were built, some of the houses are combined so that you share one compound. And so I grew up, playing, like having so many children to play with, who are around my age or even younger or even older. There's assortment of people to play with. So I got to really nurture myself from different perspective. The weird part of one of the weird part about my upbringing is that for some reason, older people were drawn to me. So all of my friends were way older than me. And yet we were able to, I fit in, even though they were so much older than me. And it felt so comfortable. It felt like I belonged in that group, and so that was really cool. But yeah, the structures are different and very community based. Women, I feel like I cherished, well, at least in Ghana, not all of Africa. In Ghana, women are definitely admired. I shouldn't say admired, respected, because they know that women bring life into this world. Women are strong. A Ghanaian woman is very strong and powerful and beautiful. And that's because the culture nurtures that. But at the same time, the men are also nurtured by the women. The men support the women, and again, I'm talking about this from where, like what I saw growing up, different households, different people from Ghana, from the same place might have complete different experiences. But if you look at it, community as a whole, at least when I was younger, those were the foundation, those were the basis of it. Now, of course, a lot has changed. So many children go abroad and come back, and the cultures of mixing, so a lot has changed, but there's still that foundation of community, of everyone coming together to help each other out. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm asking because we're talking about DNA, and sort of we get certain spiritual gifts or gifts for healing from our ancestors as well. But and I've often worked with people from Ireland, and it's just, of course, they can see. So, and in Indigenous as well here in Australia, they just are able to switch into the dream time, and it's just perfectly natural for them. It's not it isn't like a couple of generations have been disassociated from seeing and dreaming. For them, they just live it, breathe it, and it's just far easier for them to bridge in. So maybe we go back to the DNA and the codons. Jeff, I don't know where you got to, and I know you've got the list of the different codons. Yeah. So Jeff, maybe do you want to lead on that as to what you want to find out more about the different codons, different levels that we've got that we can be operating off? I guess it's like finding out we have different gears that we haven't used yet.
Exactly. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. So let's start off with number 12, isn't it?
How high
can we go?
No? hang on. Put back here.
No. 12's fine. Let's go.
No, because I'm taking the lead from Abigail's doing a bit of research, and she started from the top and went down to the first. Is that how you want to bring the essence down, or you want to bring it from the earth and take it up?
I love that. So there's a reason why it's done that way, because the 12th codon is the closest to source, right? It's right. Basically, we're plugged into source. There's no separation between us and source. It's a codon that is most filled with light. Everybody's 12th codon is usually overflowing with light because it's right there. The first codon is the furthest from source light. And so usually it has to wait till, the light comes all the way down. And hopefully we are conscious and aware that each of those codons, needs to be activated to receive the light and then pour down into each of them. So the first codon in most people are actually deactivated or doesn't have any light in that. And so we start from the top where we're very comfortable. We already have the light in there, and we just bring in the consciousness and allow things to just overflow into each other. And then when it reaches the first, so usually in a DNA activation, the from fourth to first, I will spend a lot more time there and have my client just pour in as much light as they can, to the point that it's literally overflowing into every area, like a flood, right? Because we want to fill it as much as possible. So yeah, that's why that's why we go from 12 to the first codon. Yeah.
Okay, so this work, English languages can be really, have so many different meanings. When you use the word codon, what are you actually referring to there?
So just like in the physical DNA, there are codons that are expressed. For example, that's my son, sorry. He hears mommy. In the physical DNA strands, there are codons that are expressed into, for example, your hair color, your eye color. So each of those codons, one codon might be for your eye color, the other codon might be for hair color, the other codon might be how tall you are or how short you are. So they're expressed into something physical. Well, it's the same thing mirrored in the spiritual DNA. It also has 12 codons too. So whatever is the same concept as was us above, so below, right? Us within, so without. So physical DNA, 12 codons, spiritual DNA, also 12 codons. And so the 12 codons also transcribed into our spiritual DNA, our spiritual expression, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
So in the spiritual realm, like the way I envision each of the codons is like a doorway, or a doorway where you open it up and you get to find out more of who you are. In the physical sense, it's the same thing, because each codon will let you know, are you going to have a brown hair? Are you going to have blue eyes? So it's going to give you the physical attributes of who you are. And the spiritual DNA will give you your spiritual attributes, who you are on that multidimensional level, right? I mean, it's mind blowing. I can't simplify, when you figure out that, yeah.
X and Y, and how
Yeah.
you pick up the chromosomes from your mother and father to take
Yeah.
those aspects. But what you're saying is that light comes in and just activates.
Yes.
Yeah, and then each chromosome has, when you actually look at the letters, it's GATF, and then apparently it would fill a dictionary, but then different sections relate to different expressions.
Exactly.
And
And I think
on a Thursday night in Colorado and a Friday morning and afternoon in Australia. This is amazing.
so, Jeff, you mentioned something about inheriting from mother and father. In the spiritual DNA, you also have that as well. There's an aspect that when you go into the 12th codon, 11th, like the higher codons, you can even go deeper and break it down and bring in what your mom brought in to you, and then what your father also brought in to you spiritually. That's what I received in the mystery school. And this time that we're in, unless you go into a mystery school and get that DNA activation, then you get the entire picture. But right now, the focus is to just activate as many people as possible, get people on a higher frequency, awaken their higher consciousness, because we are at the time where we need to be on that level. So the purpose is just going in there, activating, and then if they prefer, after they're activated, then unlock each of those doors or each of those codons and say, this is who you are, this is who you are, this is who you are, so that you know what you're working with as a multidimensional being.
Okay, so just put up there the 11th.
Repeat that again, sorry.
I'm just going to put up the 11th codon, what it does.
Oh, yes. So are we going through all of the codons?
Yeah.
All right. So the 12th codon is when you're right there with source, it's your oneness with the divine. There's no separation there. The 11th codon connects to your archangelic lineage. And so, it's very interesting because you hear that there are, beings on this planet who have angelic, like nature to them, right? But who would have thought that we actually all are connected to an archangel? So there's a difference. You're not just an angel, an archangel. Archangels are badasses, forgive me for my language, but they are incredible. Their energies are massive, and they're just powerful angelic beings. Their whole purpose is to work with the divine. And so in order to even connect to an archangel, you need to raise your frequency to get there, right? In order to be able to connect with them, where angels are more, their purpose is with us. And so we can connect with them very easily, like our guardian angels, and they're right here with us. They're always here with us, right? And so, but we're all connected to a certain archangel. So for example, if I activated you and I noticed that you're the archangelic lineage, your archangelic lineage is connected to Archangel Raphael, then like looking at that, your purpose, and that's the other thing that comes with this codon, by knowing which archangelic lineage you come from, you understand your purpose, a part of your purpose, because actually all of the codons give you a little bit of it, and put together you get a bigger picture. So for example, if you're connected to Archangel Raphael, you are in the energy of the healer. Archangel Raphael is all about healing. Now that is simplified. There's so much more to Archangel Raphael, right, than than the healing. And Archangel Raphael is actually my lineage. And the first time I heard about that, I was like, oh, I've always wanted to be a doctor, so it makes sense about healing. But who would have thought that I would be part of that healing is actually activating, right? I never connected. I just thought it means that I'll be, either like a healer doing like the Reiki stuff, energy healing, or being like a nurse or a doctor, like in the healing field. Like that's always what I got. But the more I got mentored by Archangel Raphael, and I continue to be mentored by her, at least that's the energy that she comes off for to me. The more I get mentored by her, the more that codon opens up, the more wisdom comes through that, right? So if you're connected to Archangel Raphael, healers, right? That's most of our healers are connected to Archangel Raphael. If you're connected to Archangel Michael, who's another archangel in this codon, they are the warriors, right? They're the ones that the fighters at the forefront. They're the ones that are fighting for people's rights. The ones that are, speaking up for people who cannot speak. They're the warriors of light. That's the best way to explain that. So if you're connected to Archangel Michael, then that's like the energy, knowing that a part of your purpose here. So you, for example, if you've always felt passionate about, fighting for children's rights, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? But now when you're doing it, you can actually connect to Archangel Michael's energy and pull that into that purpose, which will even make it more powerful. You can serve on such a higher level, and actually, your purpose becomes bigger than you, if that makes sense. Your purpose becomes bigger than you. The impact becomes more powerful that way when you realize which are archangelic lineage you're from, and you connect, you tap into that, you plug into that, and you operate from that frequency, from that consciousness. It takes everything to a whole different level.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. Once you find out which team you're on, it's just a matter of radioing in and saying, "Hey guys,
you got it.
Deal with this, please." And then it's just also actually quite a relief, because you just have to be the eyes and the ears and sometimes the touch, but on the ground.
You got it, Julia. Yes. Yes. That's exactly, we need to recognize this. We need to know that we're not here to do this alone, especially if your mission on this planet is one of the hardest ones. You definitely are not doing this alone. You got a team, and you got to open all your senses. You got to open up to receive both physical and spiritual help that is already available for you. You came to this planet with a team to help you through this. We're never doing this alone, right?
All right, so we've got the 10th codon down here.
Yes, so now we're going into the Masters of Light.
And I was going to ask you, when you did your first activation, you said, your teacher was really excited because you're a spiritual teacher. Who are yours?
So it was very cool because, and this would be usually in the first activation, you don't usually get a lot of information, because the first activation, the purpose is to just receive the light and heal. So it's not until probably like the third activation, fourth activation, that the door will begin opening for you so that you can keep going deeper. If that opens at the beginning, I mean, it can be too much for you. Like, wait, what just happened? I don't even know what that means, right? And so first activation is like receive the light and heal. Second, receive the light and heal. Third is like, okay, let's open this door. What is behind it? So my Master of Light, it was during the third activation, and I realized that it was very interesting because my teacher's doing the activation, but it was like she wasn't missing a step. It was like boom, boom. There's like confidence behind it. The messages were flowing through. There was no pause, and when it's very interesting because I saw a woman come in, and I was like, interesting. Is it Isis? Is it, because I'm very close to Isis too. So I was like, is it Isis? I wonder. And she said, Mary Magdalene. And I was like, I have no idea who that is.
Well, that's great.
What does that mean? Exactly. I was like, who is that? So after the activation, we always get to talk about what came through. And I was like, so who is Mary Magdalene? I want to know who this is. And she's like, well, she will mentor you. You get to find out yourself. And I was like, oh no. And at that time, it's just so hard to find information, like good information about who she really is. I feel like right now, there's just, now that the divine feminine is like fully coming back into her power and awakening in all of us, like the truth is finally coming out. More of her story is getting channeled in so that we can get to know her. But back then I could not even find anything on her, anything quality that is, right? I mean, we heard that she worked with Jesus, and that she, some people call her a whore because of it, or that she was a sinner. I mean, it was horrible. I was like, wait, what? Can we go back? Who's that? Like, why am I connected to her? But one thing that drew me to her is her presence. Like, she had she has the red robe, right? And she has the egg that she holds, but the color red drew me to her the most because I love red, like the dark. It's just yummy. It's such a delicious color for me. And that was the only thing that I connected to at that time. But it wasn't until, was it late last year, and then throughout this entire year, that she came in and said, hey, it is time. I'm here. Let's do the work. And her purpose, like, just, it was so clear and strong. And I've been learning about her since. I mean, the book, Magdalene, who is it by? Megan Watterson, her book about Mary Magdalene. I read about that. And also the Sophia Code, there's a whole initiation from Mary Magdalene. That was actually the first one that I read, and completely just blew me open. Just like, whoa, hello there, Mary Magdalene. All right, let's do this. All right, And there's another book where it's a channeled work where it's basically like a conversation between her and Jesus, like her walking with Jesus and her being Jesus's sacred partner. And there was another part that came, is like her and Jesus, which Jesus has always been another one of my allies who's always been with me, like growing up. And it was when they said that they are twin flames. And I always knew that I was in that frequency. I was in that energy. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, well, Jesus has always been with me, like always walked with me. And so it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so she's been mentoring me ever since. And every day something new comes in. I really asked, one of my intention this year was to meet other Magdalenes, or Sisterhood of the Rose, I call it. And they've been showing up. I mean, so they've been showing up, and every one of them, they'll be like, I felt your energy, and I just felt like I needed to talk to you. And I'll look at them and be like, do you by any chance work with Mary Magdalene? And they'll be like, yep. So they've been coming in, and it just feels so good, to not only connect with her on the spiritual level, but also physically through the sisters I'm meeting.
So I'm actually just curious, if Mary Magdalene, was here today, what's her main concern, or what is she most moved by at this point in time that we could pay more attention to?
The first thing that's coming in is empowerment. She wants us to be empowered in our bodies. She wants us to be empowered in our minds, so the way we think. What I'm getting is like, think for yourself kind of thing, like her energy is very strong and like to the point, like think for yourself. In terms of being empowered in our bodies, like you need to take care of this sacred body, this physical suit that you have on, because it is the way that your spirit can express itself. It is your it's your key to experience the best life as a human being, and so it's like empowerment in all areas of our lives, empowerment in our relationship. The other part that is coming in here is, oh, where did it go? Come back. It has to do with relationship.
Yeah, it's to do with males.
Hmm?
It's to do with males.
Mm. What are you getting to?
It's to do with male. But the divine female, feminine meeting with the divine masculine.
Yeah.
Mm.
And actually, that's been a topic for me with my clients this week. We're working with a client who is an Arabic lineage, and of course, there's that thing. If you rape a kid or a woman, then she's defiled.
Yep.
And that's it. The whole life, the rest of her life, just like chucked away. And we sort of went back to the first time it happened, and we just had the women stand in their power and say, no, we're not defiled, we're not going to let this happen, and it just made a big difference. It's just, yeah.
It's Mary Magdalene, but also I get Isis energy in there too. Those two, but it makes sense because Mary Magdalene, Isis, Hathors, Mother Mary, Black Madonna, they all are in that same energetic frequency. They all work together. They're just different aspects of the same energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to how we treat Mother Earth as well. So
yes. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for channeling Mary Magdalene. So we'll move on to the 9th codon. We've got group soul, or connecting to group soul or soul family.
Yeah. So this codon has to do with where your soul came from. So the family that your soul came from. A lot of people, they keep saying, I want to find my soul family. I want to be surrounded by my soul family. Well, this codon is the key to that. When it is activated, you are connected to both your soul family that is still in the etheric realm, holding space for you, and your soul family who has incarnated on this planet with you to support you so that you guys can support each other, actually. Right. And soul family, for me, the way I experienced this, and this came through, was it during the healing? It had to do with the healing with my birthing story, and why I rejected being here to begin with. And I went back up to where it all started, and there was a separation between me and my soul family. And I felt that deep loneliness. I felt that, like, oh my gosh, you're leaving me. Like my heart broke, literally leaving my soul family. And on top of that, my splitting my spirit to masculine and feminine is like, oh my God, I changed my mind. I don't want to do this anymore. Can I go back? Can I please go back? But that whole experience was, I should say, traumatic for me, not just in the physical sense, but also spiritually. It was traumatic for me. And that's something that I had to heal and face and choose some stuff around to be able to fully embody my physicality and be here right now. Right. Yeah. And so, but that codon activates. When it activates, it basically opens that door so you can know who your soul family are. What are they like? Who are they? Because to know who they are, you know who you are too. They're just like you, right? They might have a different culture because of where they were born, or if they're still spiritual, I mean, they will always show up as your fullest potential. So if you want to see yourself unlimited, unburdened, you connect to your soul family on the other side. They will show you how to do that, and the soul family that are here, they're walking with you so that you have people, that unconditional love that will always be around you, regardless of what experience you signed up to experience as a human being. You will always have those people around you. And our soul families are everywhere, right? Wherever you are, trust me, there's a soul family close to you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. You just have to be open to that. And it does not matter what you're going through in your life. They can always show up next to you. And usually they do. You usually do, especially the times that you feel your lowest or the times that you're about to give up. 1 or 2 will show up and shift something. They might not, all of them might stay in your life throughout the entire time. Some might just come and just light you up and then they'll leave. Others might come and stay for, until you're back on your feet and then they'll leave. Others might stay through your entire life where you guys are like best friends, or like, soul sisters. There's so many people that are like, oh my gosh, this person I've known since I was a kid and they're still around me. Like, I don't know what I'll do without, like, we always have our soul family around us. We just need to recognize their purpose and recognize that they're not just physical, they're also spiritual, and be connected to them for that support, the unconditional love and support from them.
That's an exciting one. That's one I definitely want to go for. I mean, thanks for sharing about, that's the sort of your memories of being split. And, I certainly always resonate with people who say, oh, feel so lonely, and, what am I doing here? And
a dog turns up or a cat turns up.
And just loves you. But yeah, the idea that we often look for where did we come from? Why do we feel we don't belong here? But the idea that there's different parts of our souls that have come in to be support, or a friend in need.
Yes.
A dog in need. In Australia. So, it's like, what do you get? I have to get a ute and then a dog, right? And then the partner. Because the dog you can rely on is unconditional. It's just
my God. Oh man, yes. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, dog doesn't judge you. Yeah.
Absolutely. The dog is actually the closest to the divine's love, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I'm not gonna. I have lots of friends who are cat lovers.
The dog, the dog's energy, the frequency of the dog is exactly the divine's love. So usually people who have dogs in their life, they're learning a lot about unconditional love, like the kind of love that is untainted. I mean, there's a kind of love that is kind of hard to embody and experience as a human being. And so they usually come into your life to teach you that within yourself, and also how you can call that in and experience. It's such a beautiful gift that they bring us. Cats are sassy, okay? They always take me back to Egypt. They are the goddesses. They are the high priestesses. They teach you about how to be independent and step into that power. I mean, they're yummy and spicy. They're independent, and they will not take your crap. They teach you about that. They teach you about your sovereignty, about your power.
I guess you're right, because as a kid, you observe animals and you actually learn a lot from that. So if nobody's modeling that in your family or your environment, you can actually pick it up from that.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on to number 8.
Your soul expression. So I love this codon because it gives you a glimpse about how your soul wants to express itself in the human reality, and as a human. And I'm going to give you an example with mine. So my soul expression came in as water, and it wasn't just that. It was like a creek, like deep into the earth, flowing. And when you know me, you can sense that, that watery energy, but it's a deep earth water flow. Water is connected to unconditional love. It's connected to the heart. It's connected to relationships. When it comes to my relationships, whether friendships, whether it's with my beloved, I mean, of course, I'm with my twin flame, right? I call them the deepest love you can get. But even when it comes to friendship, that's what I'm looking for. When it comes to conversations, I'm looking for, deep conversations. I don't have time for surfacey stuff. I can't even nurture it. Like, you have to go deep with me. That's my way of connection, so I can't do surface stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. It feels like a waste of time when you can just dive deep and really get to know each other. And, that's more yummy to me. So like that's how my soul wants to express. So when I am connecting deeply with someone, I am so joyful. You can feel that excitement within me. I'm fully in myself. Where if I'm connecting with someone that's very shallow and not really there, you can tell too, because I'm not in my element. I'm not present. I'm probably not present. I'm kind of like, okay, we're done. I can't continue this conversation, my energy will show it. So this codon has to do with how your soul wants to express in this lifetime. If it is fire, and it comes in as symbols. That's the beauty about how this codon opens up for you. So it comes in as symbols. For you, it might come in as an animal guide, and you have to discover what that means for you. You know, only you will understand that symbol. So if you, for example, if one of you also got like the water deep into Mother Earth, like it might mean something different for you depending on what your experiences have been thus far, right? And so, yeah, everyone's soul expression is very different, and the meaning really has to do with them. So my teacher, she just gave me what she saw, which is exactly what I saw too. And then she allowed me to discover what that means. And that's what I love about my teacher, is that she did not give us the answer. She made sure that we went to discover it ourselves. And I think that's what made our education in the mystery school so much better, like so much deeper and so much, I wanted to say yummy, but you know, like advantageous. Like it helped us grow in ways that the mind can't quite comprehend. You know, we were able to dive in deep.
Yeah, and I think it's also requiring you to find your own path and way rather than follow a set path. So I'm really actually quite excited to hear that there is a mystery school that honors that, rather than, you know, saying these are the charts and the secret knowledge and this is sort of how you have to be. So just out of interest, I'm going to detour a little because
It's not a McDonald's drive-through, is it?
No,
like,
yeah. So we've had the menu, but there's more in the book. But I actually really want to bring up, and I know a lot of people in the audience sort of ask questions about this, is with our DNA, you know, some people say that our DNA has been messed with, links with the soul expression, so that, or it's been switched off. And then there's another school of people who say, well, you know, the DNA is being contributed by different races, but I think that's a different discussion. Let's talk about the DNA being messed up with or switched off. And obviously we have epigenetics where it's, you know, trauma related or just a mutation because, you know, one of your great grandparents has been a pressure cooker, or you yourself have been in a pressure cooker. So the gene decides to sort of like not replicate properly. What did you get taught anything, or did you experience anything in relationship to this? I mean, obviously people come to you for activation and healing. Do you sometimes sort of have any personal experience on this front that allows you to have an opinion on this?
So I'm guessing that what you're asking me is more about the physical DNA and its codons and its expressions. Because when it comes to the spiritual DNA, yes, there's some codons that are turned off, but that would be because of past life experiences. So I've had clients where certain codons were turned off because in a past life, they were punished for it, or they were killed for it. And they're like, no, I can't, I don't want to show that anymore. Let's say if it was a codon about the light, master of light, and, you know, they were connected to a very powerful master of light where they were almost like guru status, you know, like where they were revered in their spiritual community. And all of a sudden, let's say they got too much power in their head and everything went awry. So the next lifetime, they're like, I can't do that anymore. I can't go there. I cannot step into that much power because I know I'm going to be this way. Right. And so they turn that codon off so that when they step into the next lifetime, they're not tempted to. But the whole point of us experiencing certain things in lifetimes is so that we can learn from it. And so usually in those cases, we would go back to that past life. We'll do the healing that will pull in what they were supposed to learn, which is the blessing or the gold nugget, and then use that to activate that codon so that they can feel more confident, expressing that codon in this lifetime. So in the spiritual sense, it usually has to do with like experiences, past life experiences, but I can see at least what is coming through is that this has to do more with the star seeds, which I'm a star seed. I wonder how many people who are listening are star seeds. Depending on which star system you are connected to and what happened to your star or the tribe or the people that were there, are they still there? Are they not? What are their evolution? What happened there? So what I'm getting is that some star, I want to say community, but it's not like, you know, star people, like not like states, but like wherever you're from. For example, if you're an Andromedan, like the group of people, yeah. Like wherever you're from, for example, they might decide to turn a certain codon off so that for their survival, right? Because they had to disperse amongst the universe and go to different places. They might discern to do that, or they might lock it and say, okay, no one is going to access this, because if we do, this is going to happen, out of fear. And so that I can see, at least that's what they're showing me, that it could be that where the community comes together and decides to shut off a certain codon, shut off the information that comes through for their survival. This is very interesting. This is the first time that this has actually come through. And I wonder who this is resonating with. Very fascinating. So in that case, how I would work with this is having my client connect back to their source. So that family, the star family, and then figure out why that was. And the other part would be bringing in your higher self to help kind of like, what word am I looking for? Navigate, because they need to know that they're safe. They need to know that they're safe in this lifetime and on this planet, that they're safe to express this codon, that whatever happened on their soul planet is not going to happen here because they decide to activate that codon or unlock that codon, right? And the higher self can really bridge those two and help that person to connect with your soul family, their star family, and really communicate with them. Well, first, they get to learn more about who they are and where they came from and what is going on and why that codon is shut off and how they can unlock it. Right?
Yeah, I get that. And I agree with your approach, because what happened in the past on a different planet or in a different play, even though we think it's in the past, it's actually kind of parallel. It's just a play line or a set that we've been through. Whereas when you connect with your higher self, you're kind of in that space beyond time where you're the creator behind the scenes deciding to get involved in a play or not. So everything is possible. And that actually reminds me when I sent you that picture.
Oh, yes.
And I actually decided to use it because I just love it goes back to what you said about the 12th codon. We're a fraction of the whole, and the higher up we go on the 12th codon and actually connect it, then we kind of have our north, we have our compass.
Yes.
We have a connection, and then we're not looking for it externally because we've got it. So, and Jeff knows what it's, I think to connect with our higher self and to sort of then decide to embody more of that higher self, I think is the ultimate. It is the ultimate grail, is the words that are coming to me, the holy grail, isn't it?
Absolutely. You got it.
So do you help people with that? What is it like? Sort of what's that process like?
Oh, it's a non-negotiable. Anyone who comes to me, that's one of the first things. Are you connected to your higher self? Do you know who she or he is? I feel like in this, in this fifth dimensional energy that we are in currently as a whole, as humanity, our planet is in there. That is the prerequisite to being successful from this point moving forward. 6, 7, 8, like you need to embody your higher self. And I mean, it's a no-brainer. We have an aspect of ourselves that knows knows the path that we're walking on, knows what will happen regardless of what choices we choose, knows how, where we're going, who we're trying to become, what we're trying to create, has the answer to all of that. And all we have to do is just tune into this part of ourselves, open up to this part of ourselves, and we can literally receive the answers and receive the help from this part of ourselves that knows everything. Why not be connected? It's kind of like a no-brainer. But again, if society taught us, at the beginning, like when we were younger, imagine who we would have become now.
Yeah, precisely.
We would be unstoppable. Our society, our world would look very different, which is kind of like where we are right now, which is why this is also coming in. Like, you need to embody your higher self. We are now asking for something better. We want to experience a better world. We want to create, we want better healthcare. We want better, government system that cares about the people. We want something better. Even if we can't see what that better is, we know there's something better. And our higher selves is a key to seeing that and taking the steps towards that.
So, yeah, thank you for that, Abiggail, because I have to admit, I kind of look at it more mathematically. The higher self is like a greater fraction of me, so connecting to it, I feel like it's got my back, but I didn't realize it was going to get so involved.
Totally.
Yeah, you were saying it's like it could be a two-way flow, not a one-way flow.
Exactly. Yeah. And
I
think
what we need to do is not be like sheep and embody more of, whatever it is that we're at that level, and just allow that to flow through us and give us the ideas and support.
Exactly.
Jeff's actually quite an interesting. He's such an interesting and unusual character. I think he would defy. I don't think you could find any book which would describe what he's doing. He set up this radio station. When he met me, he said, well, this radio station is my mistress. So dedicated his life and he probably works with Archangel Sandolphin in terms of bringing in through the higher octaves and frequencies. But, just stepping away from that is just so unusual. So, I know he's embodying his higher self. He's obviously working it because it's just so unique.
Yep, exactly. What was the other thing that was coming through with the higher self? Oh, yeah, we need to stop seeing our higher selves as something that is far away from us, or putting our higher self on the pedestal where we have, I feel like we've always been taught to reach up to get to a higher self. Like, oh, please, higher self, please come down to us. And our higher self is like, come down where? I'm already within you. I'm in your heart. I've always been within your heart. I'm already within you. I can see through your eyes. I can hear through your ears. I can touch stuff with your hands. I am right here, and I feel like people in this fifth dimensional energy, which is really helping us to embody this wisdom, they're starting to wake up and notice that, oh, I am my higher self. What does that even mean? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Well, that's what the fifth dimension is all about, is discovering what that is all about. But the first step is just recognizing and realizing that you are your higher self. You've always been your higher self. Opening that channel of wisdom and begin to learn what that means. Yeah.
Well spoken. I don't feel like I want to add to that it would just take away from it, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Most blokes would have a wife who tells them the higher self is.
Really?
Happy wife, happy.
No, I think it goes deeper. It goes to this, I grew up Catholic. Yeah, I think, I'm a mere human mortal, from dust to dust, and who am I, that kind of stuff. It's just, but I know what you mean, because, when we hold the babies and they're just so pure, that is their higher self, and then we watch them try and become something else that they're not. And as parents, we go, oh, don't be, but. They're just so unaware, and they forget because it's kind of so intangible.
Yeah.
And look at the external world. And then we do start questioning and saying, okay, well, I'm reacting like this because of that. And then, well, how else could I react and respond? And bringing in the new potential. Yeah.
You got it.
And a newborn baby, in terms of its communication, dialogue, you're really opening up and using every faculty and sense in your body. It's almost like you're drawing on that telekinesis, telecommunication. It's emotional. It's all those different form of senses, isn't it?
Yeah, and a bit like, but with babies, we're prepared to do it because we know they're not going to judge us, and we have to be totally present to be able to You know, we can't just use words to go, could you?
Yes.
Could you?
Totally.
Oh my gorgeous. Oh, I want to kiss you.
Totally.
To eat you and all look like,
You know,
Humans do that.
it's interesting that we're talking about that because a while ago I posted on my Facebook group and I said, I wonder if what the language that babies are speaking are actually light languages. Because listening to my son, I realized that, I mean, the words that are coming out of his mouth, you know, if I'm listening with my human ears, it doesn't make any sense. But he was very passionate about what he was saying. And his hands are moving. He's telling a story. And if I just recognize that, oh my gosh, wait, he's speaking in a different language. I need to tune into that frequency. What is he saying? And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, look at what he's showing me instead. This is the story he's telling me. So I posted and I asked, I was like, have you ever wondered if your baby is speaking light language? And there were so many people who jumped in and said, yeah, absolutely. You know, we come to this planet and we have a light language and we begin to communicate in that. But our parents, we've forgotten that language. We did forget that language. I mean, now we're so lucky that it's coming up again. You know, like now when I hear light language, it literally brings me to tears every single time. It never fails. You know, like it brings me to tears.
We do have someone specializing on light languages coming in next week.
There we go.
Do you think light language is more of a pictogram?
So Abigail, just asking you, do you think light language is more of a pictogram language?
Explain more about the pictogram.
Okay, so when you speak it, the words formulate a picture, and so when they broadcast their light language, it actually filled with pictogram. It's like a picture of 1,000 words, and somehow or another we receive that signal, that communication, and then we receive it as a picture, and then when we unlock that picture.
I think it depends on that person's gift. If, you know, like what kind of soul gift they have, or what, you know, the different clairs, for example. So for me, the way I experience light language is actually, I see the light come through and then within it, I see symbols. And since I was young, I would actually doodle some of these symbols, but I had no idea what they were until I was aware of what light languages are. And so for me, that's how I receive it. Some people can speak it. Some people can sing it. Some people can play music and use that to send out the frequency. So it just depends on what channel is coming through for you, if that makes any sense. For some people, it might be that way where they receive the picture. It makes sense with my son because one of my gifts is that I can see the messages that are coming through. So with my son, I could tune in that way. One of my gifts is I can also hear spirit. And so not only can I see it like a movie playing for me, I can also hear it. And I can also feel it very deeply within me. It's like an inner deep knowing, like I know this is what he's saying kind of thing. Yeah. So it depends on what gifts you have and what is activated, because it will come through that channel for you.
Yeah, and I think when people start meditating, they often get light and symbols and all that stuff. So the information, the frequencies are coming through, and then your brain translates it into something that makes sense to you.
Exactly.
But isn't it wonderful? And to think that, you know, everybody, all the parents out there, that they've got this opportunity to, you know, to practice with their kids. You know, when you see them jumping up and down and the little arms are waving and the whole heart is like,
oh man,
up and down, and it's just like they're communicating on such a different level, aren't they? And they're just so coherent as a
absolutely.
As a Qigong teacher, I just love looking at children because their field's so bouncy and so golden, and it's so uncompromised. And by looking at them, you can sort of experience what ours could be like.
Oh my God, especially the kids that are coming in this day and age, which is fully aware of themselves, their gifts, their light, fully in their element. like no karma. Most of them are coming in with no karma because they got work to do and they know exactly what they're here to do. Look at my son. I remember the first, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like he came in while he was in my belly to work on stuff for us to clear a lot of those karmic stuff. And I was like, why are we doing this? Aren't you supposed to work through this? Isn't it part of being human? He's like, no, I got work to do. I don't have time for that. You know, and connecting with other babies that are coming in, because I have friends who are also, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like how they're coming in. They're coming in with none of that, what is it called, like lineage baggages and stuff that, you know, like if I didn't do any work, he's not going to carry that. If his dad has some, he's not going to carry that. The babies are coming in very clear and very like, it's like, I'm here for this reason. And I chose you guys to nurture me. And I know you guys can do that, but I'm not here to carry your stuff. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that. And there was such a relief. I'm like, oh, good.
You won't have people, kids guilting you in the future. Mom, you did this and you ruined my life.
Exactly. It's like, oh man, okay, I'm still doing my work, but I know that you're not going to inherit any of that crap. You know, I can just focus on me continuing doing my work, and I can just support you on your own. They just feel so much lighter. I can't wait to see what they're here to do. I mean, we already can feel like the more they come in, the higher the frequency of the planet gets. Like they're boosting our frequency by coming in. You know, I'm so excited to see what they bring to this planet and to humanity. Is going to be incredible. Yeah.
So I guess in the meantime, as adults, just focus on activate our codons.
Yes. Actually, they require. Can you imagine if you're not activated? Like, how would you be able to support a child like that? Mm-hmm. You would feel like you're being pimp slapped by divine all the time. You know, that's kind of like how I see. You know, like you need to constantly. You're going to be reminded to do your work. You have no choice but to do your work in order to be able to fully support that child. So if you look at all the parents of these children, they're usually already doing the work. They've been working on their. You know, they've done like lineage stuff where they've cleared all that crap from their lineage, or they're doing ancestral stuff, or, you know, healing themselves. They're usually already doing the work. You know, it's incredible. But yeah, it's a requirement. So when you do activation, you're in a good place with that child.
Yeah. Cool. To hear. So Abiggail, tell us, the fifth codon relates to the 12 main archetypes, and you know, one of the reasons I brought you onto the show is because you set up the Moon Goddess Academy. So I'm assuming the Moon Goddess is one of the archetypes that you work with. Can you know, most of us have never heard of the Moon Goddess, you know, only rabbits and men with faces, smiling faces on the moon. So what is the Moon Goddess?
No, it's totally different. Yeah, totally. So the Moon Goddess is the goddess part is an archetype. It's one of the main archetypes in my wheel of life. The moon part is the energy of it. The moon energy, which is also connected to the goddess part. And it is magic, is mystery, has always pulled me in. To dive in, to learn more about me. And there's a reason why I came into this lifetime as a woman, right? To learn more about the cycles of the moon, of the lunar energy within my own body, and how I'm constantly replicating that every single month. Right. And so it was my energetic connection to those. But the goddess part, growing up, for some reason, like my nickname was around there. People would always like, oh, do you work with the goddess energy? Because I just see it all over you. I'm like, what are you talking about? So even before I knew what my archetypes were, or I knew what the goddesses were, they were already showing up for me. So when it showed up in my archetypal wheel, it was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And in my initiation, the spiritual alchemy initiation, where you're actually initiated into the brotherhood and sisterhood of light. So you get to learn what council, and I think there's 7 councils in there. You get to learn which council you're connected with. And mine is the god and goddesses. And so it's not just an archetype. I'm actually connected, like plugged into a council. And so all of that is channeled in, into something that I can work with, or something that is being expressed in the physical realm. Yeah.
Okay, so we're all ears. What is the God and Goddesses Council telling you, or what is sort of like what
Oh man.
like direction? Do they give you directives, or they just sort of you go and ask for help, or what does it look like? What does it
when you're
sound like?
when you're working with a God, well, not just the councils, actually, you would be working with they're called the Great White Brotherhood or Sisterhood of Light. So you would be working with them as a whole. The council that you work with is almost like the specialty that you chose to concentrate on, basically. Just like, for example, if you were in med school, you're going in there to learn medicine, but you would be focusing in obstetrics and pediatrics. Oh my gosh. Or you might be going more like brain surgery. So it's more like specialty. And the God Goddesses Council, it really has to do with the embodiments of the divine masculine and divine feminine. This is what is coming in, basically. It's very interesting. It's about coming into, which is basically what is going on right now, to awaken the true meaning of what it means to be united in both the divine masculine and the divine feminine. What that means, we're not just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you're just only divine feminine, right? Like we've kind of separated those two and be like, oh, you're a man, so you divine masculine, or you're a woman. But it's like each of us have both elements constantly dancing within us, and we need to learn to operate from their union, creating from their union, right? Knowing that we're both. Okay, they said that's all. That's all we're going to focus on right now. But it makes sense why that is the message that came through, because that's where we are right now. The other part that's coming in has to do with relationships. A lot of people are trying to find the love of their lives. And, if you're not united within yourself, if you don't know who your divine feminine and your divine masculine is, so if you're a woman looking for, let's say a male partner, right? Do you know your divine masculine nature? Because that is what is going to be drawing in that divine masculine, right? But the divine feminine is what is going to balance that connection up, right? So you need to know who you are in both elements, how they show up in your life. When they're in balance, they're not trying to overtake each other within yourself. When they're in balance, then your magnetic field gets amplified and you can actually draw in the right partner that complements that energy. At least that's one way to use it. Yeah.
So the 12 archetypes, you got the anima and the aminus aspects to it, isn't it? So we usually use the Greek gods and the Parthenon, and of course the Roman gods with their Parthenon. So it's almost like the major arcana or the tarot pack. There's a story that unfolds, isn't it? So it's a play, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's really complicated, because there's if you take Zeus or Jupiter, you've got like at least 3 women in there. He's not being faithful. So.
He's got married his sister.
So I get the brother and stuff, so it just does your head in, really, generally.
So I want you to think about the 12 main archetypes as the 12 aspects of yourself.
Okay.
So these are 12 parts of yourself. For example, there's an archetype that tells you what you're here, what your career is supposed to be, what your occupation is supposed to be. There's another aspect of yourself that deals with a relationship. Is going to give you a lot of information about who you're supposed to be with, how you interact with people in a relationship, right? Who you're supposed to call in, how you're supposed, it gives you all that information. There's an archetype that tells you who you are in your service to humanity, right? It's not just job, career. It's like, okay, when I go outside of myself, how How am I serving humanity as a whole? So these are all like, they're literally 12 areas of yourself that you get to know. For some reasons, like we break it down so that we can digest them in chunks, right? Or not chunks, by pieces. But as you awaken, you get to see all of them and see how they all play with you, because the archetypes come in with both light sides and shadow sides. And until you awaken, you usually deal a lot with the shadow side, because you have to work through that part. You got to work through what is blinding you from seeing them as a whole, from seeing yourself as a whole. And so they come in and they challenge you so that you can break down those barriers. And when you are able to awaken to actually see them and meet them and learn from them, you're like, oh, for example, there's the universal archetypes, and the saboteur, the inner child, which has both the divine nature and the shadow nature, and then what was the other one that I'm like,
the wounded child, and like you've got the priest and
the prostitute.
Yeah,
So it's the saboteur, the prostitute, the victim, and the inner child archetypes. That's a universal archetypes, and we all have that. And these archetypes they deal with survival, so they're gnarly. When they come in to teach you, you are all ears. You will pay attention. They will command your attention. It's about the work, right? But the moment you step into the work, the blessings are as this is bigger than the challenges, right? So we all have that, and then the rest is more individualized. Oh, Maria. So Maria says, it sounds like the 12 zodiac houses. The interesting part is that on the wheel, it actually brings in the houses too, to support the archetypes. So you get to know the 12 aspects of yourself, and then you bring in the houses. You're like, okay, well, my goddess archetype, for example, let's say it's in the 9th house, which has to do with spirituality. Well, what does that mean? Well, in my area of spirituality, in order for me to step in fully, I have to embody my goddess nature, which makes sense because my initiation in spiritual alchemy, I am initiated into the God and Goddess Council, right? So there's a lot of connections there. Once you know who you are, which is the 12 aspects of yourself, then you can go into the houses. Okay, this is where they fall into. Okay, this is what it means, right? You can go deeper with that. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that was.
I know that could be a whole talk by itself.
All right. Okay. So I don't think we'll go through the next 4, 3, 2, 1 because we're sort of at 1 o'clock, and we've had a lot of information. And thank you, Abiggail, for just being so generous in terms of sharing both individually and channeling whoever's with you at the moment. And I kind of was laughing when you're talking about higher selves, because technically there's 6 of us at the moment, isn't there? Plus
absolutely,
those
yes,
that are communicating with us. So we'll just really enjoy the unity there, and Jeff's just clicking through them. So I guess going forward, you do both the activations and you run a moon goddess circle. So if people want to, are drawn to you, and obviously this will go into stay on Facebook, but will go onto YouTube as well as a video. So if people want to get in touch with you, what is the best way?
Definitely my website, moongoddessacademy.com. You can find out how to work with me. You can kind of learn a little bit about me. If you really want to step into my energy and kind of feel that out, then come on Facebook and join that free group, Moon Goddess Sacred Sanctum. Yes, I think so. Oh my gosh. Totally like but yes, you can come in there, and it is a free group. You can jump in there. It's a very powerful container that I've created to support people who are willing to do the work to create the life that they want to live, to express themselves the way they want to express it. So it's a great way to jump in and kind of feel how I work, kind of see how people are connecting with me, and then go from there. And then I have the many programs, the entry point into the academy is actually the moon goddess circles, because most people are like, well, I don't know if I want to, dive in deep with you yet. And so they'll jump into the circle where, you get to learn about the goddesses, the archetype goddesses within yourself, awaken that within yourself, be supported through the lunations. So the full moon energy, what that means, how you can work with that, the new moon energy, what that means, how to work with that. And then from then on, you're like, okay, I really love your energy. I want to go deep. And then there's all the different programs that pops up that you can jump into.
And you also do podcasts, don't you?
I do. It's called Sovereign Divinity Podcast. And it's all about just having yummy conversations about spirituality and how you can incorporate that into the physicalities, is to show you how those two are meant to work together, but in a real, like in the physical sense, where this is what this person is experiencing now, so being able to connect with it physically instead of just talking about it up here etherically. So yeah, and then just talking about some of the spiritual, like DNA activation, higher selves, so they can reach more people and people can really dive into it and understand it better. So I talk about a lot of different cool topics that are at least yummy.
It's just been such a pleasure exchanging with you and learning more about the DNA activations that are possible and your take and experience on that, and just really fits in with, I think, where we as a community are headed, which is really exciting. And all our listeners as well have all been doing their own work and in their own ways, and connecting with their higher selves and healing traumas from the past. And Jeff also brought on the Empire Mums, which is, for mothers who are having children, those perfect kids that we can learn light language from, and we'll be able to lift the vibrations. So thank you very much. Jeff, is there anything you want to add?
Males seem to be the ones that need the healing and the activation on this planet. That's how I sense or feel from this conversation. Yeah. And particularly when you mentioned, we skipped the 4 Codons, but they're the ones that you actually work a lot with on patients. And this bit here about this has been deactivated or barely has any light for most humans. It seems to be, to me, seems to be the focal point, isn't it? Those first 4 seem to be where we're stuck. It's like the doors have been shut on those 4. People who use the expression on the way with the fairies or off in the stars and not grounded and all that stuff. It seems to be another aspect of energies not coming through to hit the ground. As the young children are coming in and doing it. It seems like. Yeah,
and I think this also adds into it is actually men's job to anchor the light. And obviously, if the bottom rungs are not active, then it ain't going to happen. I don't know whether actually many men are aware of that's one of their jobs is to anchor the light.
Interesting. I think everyone's job is to anchor the light. Men have a certain it has to do with working with the divine feminine counterpart, right? Bringing in that balance there. But I wouldn't say just men are supposed to anchor. Actually, everybody's responsibility is to anchor the light. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So a cry out for the men. It's just. I mean, look, the men are supposed to be strong, but we can actually feel empathy for them.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a man.
Oh, why not? I love my masculine group. I love them. They just, they Here's the thing. This is what I always talk about when it comes to the divine feminine. I think when that whole aspect or concept started coming up with divine feminine is waking up, and it sounded almost like the feminine, the goddess is waking up and it's about to stomp on the masculine, right? And what actually is happening is that the divine feminine is standing into her power again and inviting the masculine to come dance with her, because she cannot be fully in her power if the divine masculine is not right there with her. It's the same thing as, having those two energies within yourself balanced. Well, on the outside, it's the same energy too. And this, again, it's not about, I'm a man, I'm a woman kind of thing. We're going deeper, right? About the essence of that within ourselves, right? So
yeah, you're right. Back to that, Abiggail.
Yeah.
When we do the DNA cellular, we're often healing the wounds of separation between the male and female aspects of ourselves, and they just can't function without each other. And when they come back, there's this third energy that gets created when they're unified.
Bingo.
Yeah, we don't want the praying mantis type woman, do we?
I've never heard of the praying mantis type woman.
Yeah, I haven't heard about that.
We do not want to.
And then they eat them.
Oh, wait, is that where they like chomp off the head or something?
Yeah, they eat them.
Oh God, no. No.
Yeah,
it'd be a bit pointless, really. But anyway, yeah.
You need to delve deep, like you said. That's what it's all about, diving deep into all this
subconscious fears.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, mythology is all about going deep within, the psyche, aspects of, in the Greek goddess traditions. How they'll get their Herculean pass, and you get what's his name? Thor has to go there and kill the bloody big serpent.
Yep, chop her head off. So there's another feminine trauma.
Exactly.
If you're ugly and you've got hair that moves like snakes, you're in trouble.
Oh man.
Yeah, so there's little aspects there. We part of our psyche, aren't they?
Yeah.
Healed, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
And look, it's fantastic having you on, Abiggail.
Oh, it's been so fun. Thank you for having me.
Brilliant. What else? Anything else?
No, I think that's it. And I think just sort of finishing. Yeah, Abiggail, I mean, you really are so embodied and so centered and so radiant and so joyful. It really, is very, in a good way, very infectious.
That's part of my energy. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Abiggail, Jeff, and all our listeners. And you know where to come to Abiggail through the Moon Goddess Academy or through her Facebook group and website. And Jeff has the Radio FM 88 show that runs 24 hours a day, playing beautiful music and nature stuff. Next week, we will have Kai Phoenix on with us on the Thursday evening, 7 p.m. AST, telling us she's a spiritual artist and does light language channels. So I hope you can join us then.